Are VLJs really worth all the fuss? How to finally get into a new aircraft and the repair system that talks back. All that rounded up in the next couple of minutes on Fftvid. Vicky's away again, sorry. Reading some of your comments last week on aviation forums around the world, I know some of you are going to be very disappointed. She will be back next week, so don't worry. By the way, thank you for all your emails. We reply to as many as we can personally, and your thoughts really do help us develop the show, so keep them coming in. One great story this week was of a guy saying he was inspired to start his PPL course to become a D-Jet pilot after watching our shows. That is fantastic. Another very kind email said Fftvid is something everyone's been waiting for. What can I say? It's a bit embarrassing, to be honest. We're trying really hard to make a great show, and we're glad you love it. Some of the other points we got also were about our views on aircraft. Look, if you disagree with us, invite us to go for a flight in your aircraft and prove us wrong. Debate and discussion not only gets people talking about aviation, but it's also what we do down the hangar, isn't it? Whether we're commercial or private pilots. So let's have fun on screen too. It's kind of like pea prune on TV. Okay, a roundup of all your stories you've been talking about in the private and commercial flying week next. But first, the Cirrus SJ50, the Vision, the Jet. We're still not quite sure what to call it, but let's face it, it looks amazing. This week, the CEO of Cirrus told us this is now priority one for the firm. If you don't know, Cirrus have done more to make car drivers consider aircraft than perhaps any other manufacturer. Their aircraft are comfortable, the seats are made of leather and the controls smooth and slick. But this just goes up another level. On paper then, this is personal travel moulded to perfection. You just don't get aircraft like this. A quiet personal jet that will have a top cruise speed of 300 knots or 345 miles per hour. You can travel 1,100 miles or 1,700 kilometers in 3 hours. Let's put that in perspective. Let's say you were based centrally in the US in Texas. You were lucky. You could visit clients in pretty much anywhere in the entire USA in just 3 hours and be back home in time for dinner, and not a single hour wasted at the airport. There will be no more "Are we there yet?" from little Jimmy in the back, because you already will be there. But is there a problem? With full fuel, it will carry just 400 pounds of people and cargo, maybe enough for you, your laptop, and some product samples, but not for anyone else. But Cirrus say the logic is easy. How often do you really fly with all the seats in your plane occupied? You just don't do it, right? If you don't fly yet, what about your SUV or even your small car? Cirrus are applying the same logic. Most of the time it'll just be you and maybe one other person that will fly with you. If you want to take more people, you just don't fill up the huge fuel tanks as much. The firms say personal jet travel is the future, and that's why they're concentrating on it. Of course, all this is going to come at a cost, a $1 million cost. And you'll need special training too, although knowing Cirrus, they'll have made it staggeringly easy to fly. But you know what? Even with that price tag and more to get it fully kitted out, it's still going to be a very cheap and affordable personal jet. Now, we know at Fftvid, prices quoted during development are rarely correct. We also know specifications are often guesstimates. But whatever the reality, when we finally get to go in one of these, you can't help but be impressed by what appears to be space-age travel for the consumer. We really ought to finish off with a power ballad and some shots of the aircraft, shouldn't we? It is aviation TV after all. Okay, enough of that. Great aircraft, isn't it? And I want to thank the guys at Cirrus as well for giving us all those pictures and video. Coming up, is this the perfect aviator's holiday? But first, let's get some more stories you've been talking about over the past week. And you're going to love this first one. Have you ever worked on an aircraft, or if not perhaps on a car, and shouted something along the lines of, "How the f*** do I do that?" Well, boffins at the Seville CEIT IK4 Technological Centre, catchy name isn't it, are developing a new system that answers you back with the answer to your problem. It's voice activated. In fact, they're actually working on a special set of specs that will show you images of what you need to do as you do it. It's only being developed for the military at this stage, but no more reaching for manuals while your hands are covered in oil. Wouldn't that be awesome? Thanks to viewer Willem, who lives in Germany, for spotting that one. If you live in the southeast of the US, and Diamond, Cessna, Liberty, Piper and a whole load of others of big names are bringing their aircraft to you over the next few months, you can find a series of dates on the website there. There'll also be briefings on how to use the latest tax rules to make buying an aircraft even cheaper. Makes you wonder where all the commercial news is this week, but nothing really seems to be happening. We'll let you know next week any updates. Now, if you weren't at Sebring in Florida for US Sport Aviation Expo, then you won't know how well it went. I can tell you it was a great turnout, and it just proves the point that light sport aircraft class is transforming flying for newcomers. I was browsing through the web the other day as well, looking at what people were selling at the moment, and I came across this. No, don't laugh. It's actually for sale, and it's got a back seat too, so you can take your partner flying. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. It's not cheap. You'll need around 1.5 million British pounds to buy the Vickers Supermarine Spitfire, and if you want it, you'll need to get to the RAF Museum in London, England on April the 20th when it's going to be auctioned. If you do buy it, do let us know. I'd love to go for a trip. Okay, let's move on. There is simply no better way of finding out about aircraft, what you can afford, what would work for you, than to go to an aircraft expo. Of course, there are air shows around the world, and we would love to be at all of them, but we can't. So we decided just to concentrate on one of them this year, and that's Aero Expo Europe. One reason is because the first event in Prague on the 22nd to the 24th of May is based right in the heart of LSA country. So many manufacturers that distribute probably to an airfield near you are based right here, so we're hoping to meet a lot of them then. Now, if you're stuck in Brazil or Tasmania, don't worry. Come with us on your computer screen, but if not, why don't you join us actually there? As I was saying a few seconds ago with Sebring, performance and price for real practical aircraft is so much better these days than just a few years ago, so it will be worth a trip. If you want to save some money on entry fees, then I'll tell you how in a second, but first, if you have preconceived ideas about this part of the world, here is a 1-minute report I did last year from there to bring you up to speed. Welcome to Prague in the Czech Republic. We're here to look ahead to this year's Aero Expo Europe event. Now, comrade, I know you've got the idea of men with long pointy beards and farmers proudly carrying potatoes through the streets, but times have changed. It's very easy to think of Eastern Europe as being behind the times, as being a bit in the past, but in fact Prague was one of the places that really did lead the rejuvenation of this part of the world. As you can see from this shopping street in front of me, it really is now a thriving economy. This part of the world has always been great at making aircraft. In fact, if you've been heading this way in a B-52 during the Cold War, one of the planes made here would have been trying to, well, cut your journey short. The great thing is the skills still remain, but they're now being used to deliver the benefits of aviation to everyone. So they'll be rather different from fighter jets. And they're going to be rather different vehicles from the ones like this, LSAs, Group A aircraft, turboprops and even helicopters. You'll even get entry-level private jets or VLJs, and we'll be grilling all of them to find out what they're doing for you. The event in Prague takes place in May. These statues may have been here for more than 300 years, but general aviation is obviously a lot newer than that, but it's thriving here. Okay, how do you get that discount? Well, if you register here on this website, you get 2/3 off the entry price, which makes it just €5 or 125 Czech krona. The other thing we're really pleased about this year is that the venue is now on the metro line into Prague, and if you've never been there before, it is an amazing city for a weekend break. So, without sounding like a travel presenter, why not combine the two? Oh, and your ticket also gets you free entry to see the 275 aircraft at Headley Aviation Museum, many of which you probably have never seen before from behind the Iron Curtain. Anyway, more details on Aero Expo coming up over the next couple of weeks. Just finally, if you've ever not passed or quite passed an aviation test, you're in good company. British Royal Prince Harry failed a theory test recently, but just like all the rest of us, great unwashed, he gets to take it all again with a little more practice. That's it for this week. You're watching FullFlap.tv, and I'm Richard Midson.